Change isn't just coming, it's already here. This is Ask for Change podcast, hosted by leadership expert Meridith Elliott Powell. Brings you weekly conversations with leaders and experts who are redefining success in a world of disruption. Let's begin today's journey and turn uncertainty into your competitive advantage.
Let's turn uncertainty into your competitive advantage. Welcome to Ask for Change. I'm Meridith Elliott Powell, your host. And let me tell you, this show is all about turning uncertainty into competitive advantage, which sounds so often like the opposite of what you could do with uncertainty. And I feel like our guest today has just done that. When our world is talking about technology, she is talking about human connection. I want you to welcome to the show Barb Betts. Now, she is a woman who has built a 7-figure business for over a decade. Get this, without ads or cold outreach, just authentic, trust-based relationships. She is a keynote speaker, CEO, and author of The Relationship Advantage, which we are going to put in the show notes because you want to get a copy of this. And her expertise is teaching leaders and sales teams that in a world racing towards automation, human connection is still the ultimate competitive advantage. Welcome, Barb.
Oh, thank you for having me, Meredith. This is so exciting to be here. And that intro gives me all the kind of goosies because I think what you speak about and what I speak about have such an interesting intersection. And I'm really excited to have this conversation.
You know, you have been leveraging relationships for a long time. And I'm curious, where I wanted to start was, do you feel like in today's marketplace where, I don't know, ever since COVID, let's take it back to 2020, we have become, in an odd way, more connected and less connected than we have ever been. Are relationships still the way, your best competitive advantage out there? And have you seen that increase in the time that you've been doing it?
Absolutely. I think it's even more prevalent now, right? So you said it. We are living in the most connected world we've ever lived in human history. We can reach and connect, DM, talk to anyone we want in the world. And yet we are living in the most disconnected society. And the studies are still calling it out, right? The Surgeon General declared loneliness a public health epidemic in 2023. People are so connected. We're almost over connected because we're not intentionally connected. And the reason I say that is because we think that just scrolling past someone's lives on social media means we have a relationship. We think just because we saw them pass through our feed that we have a relationship. And where I come in and help people understand this differentiation is the understanding that we have to do something intentional to build this connection and build a real relationship. And I think to the latter part of your question of, is it more important now than before? I think absolutely. And I think that people are showing it in that we don't trust anybody anymore. We don't trust anything anymore. We don't trust what we see online anymore. We don't even trust if you and I are real humans anymore, right? I mean, if I didn't identify something real going on in the world today or point something out, like we don't even know if we trust video anymore. So I think now more than ever, the relationships that we have and the trust that we build is the true differentiator.
Yeah, you know, that is so funny. I was watching something on the news today, and I'm really a very optimistic, positive person. And they were saying something, reporting, and I said, yeah, I don't believe that. And I caught myself, and I thought, oh my God, I don't trust anything anymore.
Right.
I don't believe anything that comes my way.
Yeah.
But let's back up. I wanna know how you got this way. Like, how did you start out just understanding that relationships are the foundation of everything? Where did this journey begin?
Well, you know, it's wild is until I, stepped out of my previous industry and became a corporate keynote speaker full time, I didn't really understand that it actually goes way back to childhood. But the funnier story, the real story, the business story, the one that's not going to make anybody cry, it's just going to make them laugh, is I got involved in the real estate industry about 24 years ago. I started in real estate sales. A long story how I landed there, because no one wakes up and graduates high school and says, I want to be a realtor. I can tell you that right now. We all have a previous origin story. But my first day full-time in the business, when I decided to give it a go, and I went into my manager's office and he told me, let's pick out a farm and I'm going to teach you how to go out and knock on doors. And we picked out some streets and we picked out some places where I was familiar with the neighborhoods and the communities because I had grown up there my whole life. And so I went and started knocking on doors. And long story short, I got chased by a dog. And when I say chased by a dog, I mean chased by a dog. I mean, I ran down this street, Meridith, chased by a dog. Now, if we were doing my keynote, I would have a picture, or I would ask you, what kind of dog are you picturing in your head after I tell you the story? And you're going to say Rottweiler, you're going to say German Shepherd. And of course, the next picture I put up is the 6-pound dog that changed my professional sales career forever. And that was when I truthfully went back to my car, panting, sweating, shaking, questioning every decision I had just made in my new career. Like on a Tuesday, I didn't plan to, be chased by a dog. And I kind of just had this revelation of, I'm out here asking people who don't want my services. They haven't even raised their hand for my services. And I'm asking them if they want to buy or sell real estate.
Yeah.
What am I doing? And so from there, I kind of made this decision, like, I'm either going to figure out a different way to do this that feels good and authentic to me. And then it just kind of all, snowballed from there.
So, when you think about building relationships and using it as a way to, whether we want to build a 5-figure business or a 7-figure business like you have done, in today's world, when I was growing up, that's how my father did business. My father owned a business. My parents had 3 massive parties a year. Everybody came. They belonged to the club. My father played golf 3 days a week. I mean, there was just this, he was in the Kiwanis Club. There were these ways. It seems so much more difficult in today's world. So how does somebody who, because I got to tell you, this feels good. The whole idea of cold calling, the whole idea of, walking out and knocking on people's doors just does not sound attractive. But for anyone listening to this podcast, where do you start in today's world?
Well, in today's world, there's a couple things, right? We have to do some of the traditional things. I'm not going to tell you you don't have to have a really good looking website that's clear, identifies the problem you solve and what you do for a living and how you, whether it's a product or a service, how that will change people's lives. You've got to have some of the very clear, specific marketing triggers that we all need to have. So you don't get to just go out and be nice to a bunch of people. Like, I always make that really clear.
Yeah.
But in today's world, I think to tie back to why this works and to maybe give people a little lens into why this works is we all know, in no matter what industry, what product or service you sell, we are all worried about becoming commodities. We are all worried about being boiled down to cost, right? Price. And I always say that in an industry where you may be in a hyper competitive industry, and we all are, even you and I, Meridith, as keynote speakers, we are in a very competitive industry. I don't know any industry in the world that's not competitive. Right. Attorneys, insurance, air conditioned mechanics, like you name it. We are all car salespeople, cars, right? We're all in a competitive industry in itself. And so at the end of the day, when the product or the service is the same, and the price is the same, the only thing that's going to change someone's mind is the relationship that you've built and the trust that you've instilled in that relationship, which is why I say, specifically talking about sales, that sales isn't just about relationships. It's not just about being nice to people. It's not just about going out and golfing with people. Don't get me wrong. That is definitely part of it. But how have you embedded trust and value into the relationship? How have you taken the relationship to a level where they know you, they like you, and they trust you? That's old adage. We've heard it forever, right?
Right.
They also understand that you're really good at what you do and you provide a ton of value. And then at the end of the day, when they're looking at 2 equal competitors, they're going to be like, well, I know nothing about competitor A. I know nothing about Dan. Dan is just a salesperson. He's pitched me a bunch of things. He has a great product. He has a great service. But Meridith has really made me feel like she understands me as a person, as a human. Right? She treats me as more than a transaction. That's how the relationship wins. The other thing I want to point out is relationships are not the quick fix. If anyone's on here listening, thinking that I'm just going to go out and build relationships for 30 days and I'm going to, set my career on fire, it does not work that way. Right? So it is a slow burn. And the way I always package it is I always say what my goal is, especially with my sales audiences, my goal here is to not tell you to stop doing what's already working. If you already have a lead generation strategy that is working, for instance, Meridith, I heard about one of your lead generation strategies on a community call we were on the other day. Don't stop doing that. But how can you slowly swing the pendulum over to building relationships, staying in intense and intentional human connection with people so that you become top of mind, You become spoken about in rooms you're not even in. Referrals start flowing in. Doesn't that feel like a much better way to do business than to have to make 100 cold calls, a week?
Right. So you used a word I want to talk about, and you said when it comes to relationships, you've got to be intentional.
Correct.
And what do you mean about intentional?
Yeah. So intentional to me means that we don't take our relationships for granted. And we don't suffer from something that I think a lot of people don't realize they suffer from, which is relational drift. We have a lot of relationships in our lives and a lot of people in our lives that could be a huge resource or asset to us. They have the answer or the connection we need. The problem is we have unintentionally let that relationship drift apart.
Yeah.
Which is why in the book and in many things that I speak about in training programs I do, I teach a system for relationships. And some people have called me out on it and been like, that's transactional to have a system. I'm like, no, it's not. It's called intentional.
Yeah.
Tell me how your follow-up system for your pipeline is not intentional. And all I'm saying is you've got to take all the relationships you have in your life and your business. And if you're a business owner, just start with your business relationships, because not all relationships in life are business relationships. Take all your business relationships, and I just teach a simple ranking system where I encourage you to rank your relationships, because you have a different level of relationship with everyone in your business. You rank those relationships, you apply a simple frequency formula to it, which let's just say, Meridith, let's just say you're a 5-star human in my life. You're a 5-star person in my business. I really want to keep a good relationship with you because we love and adore each other too. Right. So you're going to be a 5-star relationship. And therefore in my system, you're going to be in every 30-day touch. And then I have a CRM that I built behind my IP. I didn't physically build it, but someone built it for me behind my IP, that every 30 days, it's just going to ping me and remind me, hey, Meridith hasn't heard from you. Now that isn't the cue to get out transactionally and send Meridith a message, but it is the cue that I need to find a reason to connect with Meridith, or just simply pick up the phone and call her and say, hey girl, what's going on? Yeah. Right? So that's what I say. You need to be intentional and you need to have a strategy, because your relationships are drifting away. And not because you don't care. It's because both of you have unintentionally stopped connecting. Yeah. And you can absolutely rekindle that relationship, restart it, do all of the things to get it going again. But if you're not being intentional with the connection, that's why the relationship isn't happening.
Yeah, and I love what you're talking about, because you're really talking about taking ownership. I actually had to do that, and I bet you can relate to this. I mean, when you work and you have a family and everything like that, I get so caught up in work and getting things done that I had to put the family on intention, as the kids have grown up and gotten out and all that kind of stuff, and I do it every Sunday. I just look at the month and I'm like, who are we connecting with this month? When are we going to connect with them? And then being a professional who travels, if I don't make sure the relationships and the connections get taken at home, they go away. Mm-hmm. And you're just talking about applying that to the business, right?
That's all. Which is what, when I speak, I actually start out with the simplest strategy I can give everybody. And any human can implement this today. I don't even say tomorrow. You can do it today. And I actually have people start doing it while I speak. I had to simplify it, right, Meridith? Because sometimes as speakers, we can get all into our frameworks and our systems. And also not every audience I speak to is in a hardcore sales environment. Some are just leaders. Some are just everyday humans. Some are women that are just moms and wives and, have their own careers, healthcare, teachers, all the things that we speak to. And so I had to simplify it. And I simplified it into this idea and this mindset I just want everyone to adopt. And it's this idea behind the concept of go first. I want you to be the person to start going first, because that's the problem. All of the people around us are just sitting back waiting for each other to connect with us, right? Yeah. We're waiting for the other person. So it's the idea behind go first. And there's a simple thing I want you to do every day. And I call it the 5x5 method. And the 5x5 method is every single day, Monday through Friday, I want you to send 5 messages a day to 5 people you care about 5 days a week. That is all I've done for my entire career. I did it in my real estate industry. I did it in my volunteer leadership role. I did it in other business that I built. And then I'm doing it in speaking. And guess what? My business is 100% referral and bureau right now because of relationships that I built. Because every day I think to myself, who are 5 people that need to hear from me today? No agenda, not asking for anything. I'm not asking to be on your podcast. I'm not asking to hop on a call. I'm not asking, can I pick your brain? I'm just saying, hey girl, checking in on you. Hope the vacation went well. Hope the keynote, saw you were on stage with blah, blah, blah. How did it go? Just checking in. And bonus points if you're in sales and in business and you do that strategically. But if every human on the planet would just think of 5 people every day who need to hear from them in a thoughtful way, your relationships will be better, intentional connection will start. And then guess what? When I need to call Meridith for something, when I know you just spoke on a stage that I really want to speak on and I'd love an introduction, I'm not going to feel like a you know what calling you up, because the foundation of the relationship's already going to be there.
Yeah, I can't tell you the biggest mistake I see when I have coached people in the past on career is that they've waited until they've lost the job to build their outside network.
Right.
And you should always be building that, because exactly what you said is that you're going to need somebody.
Yep.
And if you haven't invested in that relationship, it's a really awkward
Yeah.
piece.
And that's why the fourth piece to my framework, every good speaker has a framework, is build the relationships before you need them. It's the theme of the book. It's the premise of everything I've ever done in life, is you set the foundation of the relationship so deeply that you do feel because when salespeople say, I don't want to call, I don't want to ask for business, I don't want to ask for business. And at the end of the day, you are not a salesperson if you don't know how to ask for business. Right. For the love of everybody, please understand that you have to act like you actually need the business or you're not going to have any. But I always tell people the reason you're not comfortable asking for business is because you know that you have not earned permission to ask for that business. And therefore, you do feel like a pushy salesperson. You do feel like the insert whatever analogy has been given to your industry about what you guys do, because every industry has one. And that's why you feel that way. It's a natural human reaction to say, you know what, I have no business calling Meridith right now and asking her for a referral to that keynote, because I haven't talked to Meridith one-on-one in a year.
Right.
And Meridith is going to receive that phone call as like, oh, Barb needs something, not see my picture pop up on the phone and be like, oh my God, Barb's calling, right? Like, honestly ask yourself, the relationships that are important to you in life, how would they react when your picture comes up on the phone? Mm-hmm. Is it, oh, she probably needs something again? Or is it, wow, Meridith, right? It's an honest check that we all know the answer to, but some of us are just afraid to admit it.
So how does somebody blend all that is happening in today's world with, AI and technology and this whole idea that I can run my entire business sitting on a Zoom? How do they blend all that together? Because I imagine you got to take advantage of these new technologies.
Girl, I've been spending all morning trying to beef up my website and see where I'm ranking in the answers. And am I showing up in the right answers? Yes. If you are not going all in on AI right now, you're missing, as our friend Ian Bigcroft says, we are at the gates of a huge opportunity, right? Wouldn't you have loved to have been at the beginning of SEO before SEO got, come on, friends, if you don't know, that's where we're at.
Right.
Here's what I say though. I use AI every single day in my business. I have it doing lots of things for me that don't require a human. But if AI is used correctly, it should free you up to be more human, not less. It should give you more time for connection. It should give you more time to hop on a Zoom call and have a cup of coffee with somebody. It should give you more time to go out to lunch with a friend, a family, or a business partner, right? It should give you more time back, not make it worse. And then the other thing I would just say is really protect. I cannot say this enough. Protect your communication. Protect your outbound email message. Protect anything where you're directly communicating with someone else. I'm not talking about mass emailing, mass marketing, but when, I have friends that are using AI autoresponders and it's ruining my relationship with them. Yeah. Because they would never speak to me that way. They would never call me by that name. They would never so just, if you're going to use AI, use it to do the things that you would normally have to pay somebody to do. If you want to be truthful, but make sure that the things that are human about you, text message, phone call, like these AI bots that are calling people and fake phone calls are happening to try to pass you off to a salesperson. I think that's going to get old real fast.
I do too.
The auto emails responses when you send a simple email and your bot responds before you realize, that doesn't sound like me at all. Just protect those things, please. But use AI for all it can be used for if it makes sense in your business. But just remember, it should free you up to be more human.
I'm curious if in the keynotes that you do and the training that you do, if you have to back up and help people understand what a relationship is, because I feel like with me, a lot of people are reaching out and connecting with me, but sometimes I put a timer on it. And I'm curious as to how long it's going to take till somebody asks a question about.
Right.
Right. I
Right.
mean, I'm really, I'm amazed of it. I was on the golf course last week playing with a woman I'd never met, and we played the entire first nine before she ever took an interest in me at all. And I cannot tell you from a relationship standpoint how off-putting
Right.
that is, right? So
Right.
I'm curious if we've lost the definition of a relationship.
It's a really great question. I think we have lost the definition of a relationship. And I always say it's one that's rooted in trust and care, right?
Yeah.
And consistency. And it's why, to your point, the second pillar in my framework is make someone feel like you actually know them. I actually say it's not about how many people you know. It's about how many people feel known by you. Hard stop. That's a relationship. Does the person actually feel like you know them?
Yeah.
And to your point, it's why I've learned that, not everybody does this naturally. And, my way backstory that I didn't tell you at the beginning, but a little bit of it is that I grew up as an only child, a very awkward, not cute, made fun of, horribly left out, lonely, only child. In fact, my parents just now are realizing this about me and having all these kinds of like, what do you mean? You had a great childhood. I'm like, I'm not saying I wasn't taken care of at home.
Right.
Just saying recess was the worst part of my day. And so I became a professional at figuring out how to turn into a chameleon and become someone that fit in with people.
Yeah.
So I always say when you crave human connection more than anything in the world, when you're little, you'll do everything you can as an adult to never let it go. So I've learned skills to actually show more interest in someone than they're showing in me. And I've learned that audiences need this. So I teach a quick 4-part, I call it a connection loop. How do you actually connect with someone?
Yeah.
The first is obviously listen. And when I say listen, guys, I don't mean just listen to hear. I mean, listen to truly understand, right? I mean, we're all guilty of it. I do it on podcasts sometimes where you're talking and I'm already 5 steps ahead in my thoughts, and we all are guilty of it. So we have to always pay attention to it. The second is notice. And so this is a tool I teach people of, are you really noticing things about people? Are you slowing yourself down enough to notice that Meridith just got really solemn when she just talked about something, or she got really excited, or her voice sped up so she's really excited about something? Are you actually noticing all of the cues? Are you noticing that Meridith wears the same thing every time she golfs, that she's obsessed with a certain color, that she always has Starbucks in her hand when she arrives at the golf course? Have you ever asked her what her favorite drink is at Starbucks and actually written it down and then brought Meridith her Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
Things like this. So are we actually noticing? And then I teach a strategy of documenting, and this isn't really help in the conversation, Meridith. That person on the golf course just needs to learn how to be interested in someone else, period. But when you are interested in someone else, I teach a strategy of documenting, and this has been my superpower my entire life, where even on our little community calls that you and I are both a part of, if people are saying things, I'm writing it down in a notebook and it's going in my CRM, and I'm going to remember that you said you have a favorite sports team, or that you have a favorite drink, or that you don't drink, or many different things. Because when all of this is done correctly, the next time that person shows up at the golf course and they did find out your coffee order and they now bring you your coffee order, you're going to feel real seen.
Oh,
you're going to feel like, wow, I totally forgot I told you I like that weird pumpkin spice upside down, inside out, extra hot, 2 shots, 3 ads. You remembered that, right? So people are telling us clues every day. People are leaving us clues every day. We're just not listening enough to actually show, you said that was important to you, so I'm going to show that it was important to me too. That's how you really create connection. You show up and you keep showing up in that way. But your girl on the golf course, the only thing I can offer you is that's just something that some people can't get away from themselves for, But if that person on the golf course changed their tone with you, started listening, showing up differently, then started doing it consistently, then started checking in with you in between things, noticing something, it totally changes the cadence of a relationship, and relationships can die and recover very quickly as well. It doesn't take much to restart a relationship. It can be as simple, it's been too long. We need to catch up.
Yeah.
If you really, I've had people on social media say, I just posted a video about this and this woman was like, no, it's a 2-way street. She should reach out first. And I'm like, well, that's why you're not going to have a relationship. It must not be that important to you. And that's okay too. Right. And sometimes relationships are not meant for more than a season. Like, we also got to take it easy. We think we have to be friends with everybody forever and always. And that's just not true either. But to tie a bow on that, I would just say, make a list of the most important people in your life and really question to yourself, does this person know that they're important to me?
Yeah.
And start there.
Yeah, so well said. The biggest thing I'm really learning from today, I do this so well in my personal life. I've been so intentional, and I just think it's because I've been traveling for 20 years, and if I'm not intentional, then I certainly miss certain events because I'm on the road. But I've not been as intentional in my business life,
Yeah.
and I'm really going to take that away. I'm going to apply the same that I've been doing there, use a bit of your system
Right.
and apply it there. It's hard to believe we're at the end of this podcast, and I always like to end it with two questions. Honestly, I could talk to you all day.
Oh,
You're so
you're so
interesting,
sweet.
and I believe that your topic is hot. I think it is going to continue to be on fire because I think it is a dying art. And I am obsessed with, in the work that I do, I'm obsessed with highly successful people. I mean,
Yeah.
people who've come from nothing and have become billionaires.
Right.
And when it comes down to one thing is they are they all are well connected in
Yeah.
relationship circles.
Yes.
They take care of each other.
Take care of each other. Yeah.
They really do. But the two questions are, and you can answer them in either way. How do people find out about you? How do they find out about your book? How do they find out about your work? And follow you, hire you, all of those amazing things. And then, what is your greatest piece of advice for anybody out there struggling with all this uncertainty in the marketplace, waiting for what's come next? What's
Yeah.
your greatest piece of advice for them to turn all of this uncertainty into their greatest competitive advantage?
I'll start with that. It really is build the relationship before you need it, in the sense of the people that are most important to you in your life, your business, your career, the people that you know have a way to show up in your life in a special and unique way. Question yourself, have I built the relationship to a point where if I needed something today from this person, would I freely be able to call them? And I think it's a great question for all of us, because every time I do a podcast and every time I get into this content, one or two names will pop in my head, and one just popped in my head. And I'm going to write it down, and I'm going to reach out and connect with that person when we're done, because that's telling me that if I needed to call, and it's another speaker friend, if I needed to call this speaker right now and ask for help, I would feel transactional.
Yeah.
And I do this for a living. So if I'm feeling that way, you got a much long, whoever's listening, I'm telling you right now, I'm talking to you, driving the car, you have a much longer list of people than I do.
Yeah.
And so if you had to make a list of the people that you know are important to you, specifically talking about business, but sometimes people got to start with their family, Meredith.
Yes.
You said it. You said it. I apply this to my family. I apply this to my friends. And you are right. The people closest to us are sometimes the ones that get left out the most.
So
that would be my advice. And then and what you can find me at my website, barbetts.com. That has everything, the books there, the blogs there. And then I love hanging out on Instagram. It's my favorite place to hang out. Secondary would be LinkedIn. So
all right, I need to follow you on Instagram. I believe I do on LinkedIn. Listen, you have been amazing. I mean, I feel like we have scratched the surface. I'd love to do this again and have a deeper conversation. Because I've really enjoyed it, and you've given some really valuable information, not surprising to any of our listeners. So again, thank you, and thank you to all of you for joining us for another episode of Ask for Change. And remember, you can shift how you think, feel, and act about uncertainty, and learn to leverage it to become your greatest competitive advantage. We'll see you right back here next week for another episode of Ask for Change.